All right, let's talk a little bit about Team USA. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, Keith, we've been talking about this for a while now about we weren't sure how healthy Kawhi actually is, whether or not he can play for Team USA. I know there were some positive news reports about his health and how there was no minutes restriction and all that stuff. And now here we are. Kawhi Leonard withdraws from Team USA in order to try to fully heal up. Not ideal. I mean, from a team perspective, not ideal for a United States that definitely needs wing stoppers. Now, we'll talk about Derrick White replacing him as well and why that pick, I think, made perfect sense. And the defensive side is certainly part of it. But disappointing because given his age and injury history, this was probably Kawhi's last shot at the Olympics.
Yeah, I would say for sure. Yeah, and I think for Kawhi, it probably felt pretty good coming in. And then there's been a little bit of mixed reporting. We're hearing some that it was Kawhi's side that was like, hey, can we talk about this? Some talk that the Clippers were involved. My guess was probably a little bit of everybody. And Team USA probably looked at it and said, hey, we do not want to find ourselves in Paris. Kawhi's out. And then we've got guys like Joel Embiid, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, all very often pick up injuries. Kevin Durant's already hurting. Now all of a sudden, that's like half the roster. Potentially we've got to worry about a little bit. I think you're in a spot where it's let's if you're not sure, let's move on. Let's get somebody in here who we're fairly certain will be available, will be able to go. That's one of Derrick White's best abilities is that he doesn't miss time. He always plays. So yeah, I think this is a really good pickup. I made the point when it was before it was officially announced. I think it was Mark Spears, one of the first people I saw say Derrick White's going to be the guy. And the point I made was Derrick White is one, he can really defend guards. This team doesn't have a lot of guard defenders out there. He can defend up against a lot of wings, as can Drew Holiday. But Derrick White's also not going to complain if he's the 12th man and he's playing 5 minutes a night. Like he's just going to kind of do whatever is asked of him. That's why, like, people who are like, why are they not bringing Kyrie Irving or Jalen Brunson? And I'm not saying those guys would complain. Those aren't guys you just put on the end of the bench and say, hey, you happy to be here? Like, fit matters, chemistry matters. A lot of Celtics fans are upset because they felt like it should be Jaylen Brown. He's the same size as Kawhi. He does a lot of the same things as Kawhi. One, we don't know if Jaylen Brown wants to play. Yes, I saw his tweet. I don't know what that's in reference to. I'm sure he'll explain it later. He generally does. And he usually comes back with, that wasn't anything to do with what y'all thought it was. And whether it did or didn't, who knows. But Jaylen Brown is also, I think he's halfway around the world right now. Last I saw, he was in like Paris and then in Japan. I don't even know where he is right now. So I don't know that he was jumping at the chance either to join up. But I think Derrick White is a fine replacement for what this team needs and for how the chemistry of just another guy who's not going to grumble at all if he's not playing very much.
Here's the problem, and it's the same reason why when we look at a team, we typically default to whoever the 5 best players are, that's the starting 5, right? Which is not always the case in the NBA. Oftentimes it is, but not always, because fit does matter when you're looking for specific skill sets. You think back to Manu Ginobili. Was he one of the 5 best Spurs? Easily, no question. But he came off the bench because that was what was best for the team in terms of utilizing his skill set. When you look at Team USA, you could just automatically go to the next best player on the list and say, okay, you're coming onto the roster. And that's what triggered a chorus of but whatabouts around in sports fandom. Well, what about Brunson? What about Jaylen Brown? What about whoever? All the other guys that you want to throw in there. People said, what about Kyrie? What about they need defense. They need defensive players, lockdown defensive players that are super switchy. You could say Jaylen Brown, does he fit that role potentially? But I think I'd argue that you need a guard defender more than anything else. And between Derrick White and Jaylen Brown, which one's best suited to defend guards? It's probably Derrick White. I think Kawhi Leonard gets the nod on this team because he's Kawhi Leonard, because that comes with some stature. Is a wing defender specifically what you need? No, you really need another guy who can be switchy and defend guards. And so that's what you're getting by bringing in Derrick White. And he can defend wings too. But I do like that he can do a little bit of everything. And nobody's going to say anything if he winds up being the 11th, 12th man or whatever and doesn't wind up playing in a particular game. Whereas if it's Jaylen Brown, it's going to be, well, why did you even bring him? Now he's not going to play and all this stuff's going to happen. I think Derrick White is that guy that just fits in He can be the glue guy. He can do all the stuff that the team needs. And I think they're going to need him when you're dealing with some of these high quality, speedy guards that some of these foreign teams have. And it's not easy because that's been a weakness of Team USA for years now. So you have to account for fit when you're making this selection. And I think that's where Derrick White makes sense, even though he might not be on the same level as some of the other options.
Yeah, I look at it in the group stage. Puerto Rico. I'm not pulling the Chuck Daly and trying to tell the dream team that, like, hey, you got to be careful. These guys might actually challenge you, and then like Jordan and Bird and Magic laugh at him and go back to playing cards or whatever they were doing. I think you look at it though, Tremont Waters and Jose Alvarado, two small, quick, fast guards. Who defends them right now on this team? Now, sure, you're going to be like, who cares? Like, I don't care if they're running around like crazy when we're scoring on them on every trip. Sure, that there is truth to that. But if it falls into a spot where it's like, we just need to stop, at least you can put Derrick White, Drew Holiday on them and say, hey, can you go lock them down for the next 2 minutes while we go? It was funny. Somebody tweeted, I wish I could remember who it was, because what the tweet was, everybody's complaining about why are Kyrie Irving or Jalen Brunson not on the squad because they get buckets. And they're like, yeah, because there's nobody on this team that can go get a bucket. Like that should be a major problem for this group, right? Like,
exactly.
Like that's the thing. You're looking to fill out some skill sets, there. So yeah, is Derrick White a first name you think of for a Olympic team? No, absolutely he's not. But I think Derrick White is somebody you do look at and say, you know what? Hey, Derrick White's actually pretty good. Fills a role. Mm-hmm. Let's move forward that way.
Absolutely. All right. In fact, I even just made the case over on the Basketball Bulletin. I just published a video a bit ago about who the starting five should be, and I made my argument for Drew Holiday in place of Anthony Edwards in the start, which I would never, right? I mean, Drew Holiday and Anthony Edwards are not on the same level as players, but in terms of who fits in the starting lineup, you can make a case, assuming it's going to be LeBron, KD, Embiid, and Curry as the other four, that Drew Holiday makes the most sense in the starting lineup to be that defensive guy that can help you out on the boards, that can defend guys on the perimeter. Derrick White can fill a similar role there, and so that's something I think is important for Team USA. So again, a lot of people upset, but I get it. I get it. Fit matters in international play now for the U.S. That's just the reality of the situation. We're no longer in that era where you could just roll a ball out and the U.S. is going to overwhelm teams with star power. They can still do it to some teams, but fit matters now more than ever for Team USA.
Yeah, these guys are not interrupting pregame warm-ups to take pictures, take team pictures with Team USA.
Right.
That's just not a thing. So yeah, that's that was a thing in 1992. It's not a thing in 2024 anymore.